Hey, welcome back. It is another Style It Yourself DIY Wix website design tutorial. I'm your hostess, Sarah Michaels here. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to add and trigger an automation for after someone submits a form on your website. Now, this should be the exact same process, whether it is a single step form, whether it is a multi-step form. It really shouldn't matter on the Wix platform. Okay, so what I want you to do first is I want you to pull up your editor, the site editor, and we're going to do a couple of things just to make sure that you're going to have like the best experience. And if you guys are coming from another platform or, whatever, where you were using multiple, having to do Zaps or Zapier and like integrate all the things, Wix Automations is really going to rock your world at how simple it is and how built in the automations are to your website. So you can like track them and create a whole workflow. It's pretty cool. Okay, so one of the first things I want you to do is get to the editor in the form, and then we're going to click on form settings. Okay, so one of the first things that I want you to do is I want you to name the form. And you want to do this because it can get really confusing to trigger automations when the form isn't named properly. So you're just going to go ahead and name the form, and I'm just going to call this sample application. Okay. So this is on me. So sample application. And then as you can see, I just kind of clicked off and then it's saved. Now, one of the first things that you can do is you can see here, email notifications, get notified of each form submission. So you might want to do that. You can choose to email the site contributors. This is especially helpful if you or a virtual assistant or an office administrator or like another business partner or something wants to get looped in when someone fills this form out. You can also choose to add another email onto there. This is helpful, like if you are working with a virtual assistant that's going to be handling all of your stuff. Okay, now you can see that you can actually access the automations right here on the form settings. So when you click on form settings, okay, on the left-hand side, it'll say settings. Nope, just kidding. Automations. And this is where you can send out that custom thank you email after someone submits a form. So that's where you can go and do that. So you could create this here. The second way that you can access automations and trigger them for a specific form are by going into the site dashboard. So again, you just saw that we did that from the actual Wix site editor by going and clicking on the form and clicking on form settings. And you may want to click around in here just to make sure that you've got all of these things squared away before your form goes live. So like the submissions table, are you going to be accepting a payment through your form? Any kinds of like conditions, we'll go through those later. This is kind of a newer feature that's pretty cool. Contacts, and then the automations tab. Okay, so now the second way to access this is by going in and accessing the actual automations. And automations are now located. Yes, if you've seen previous tutorials and you're like, Sarah, it's not where you said it would be. They're constantly moving and upgrading and changing things around. So I'm sorry that if you watch this in the future, but if you ever can't find something, just go up to the search bar here and just type it in. That's kind of like a shortcut to get there. So if you ever can't find it on the menu, this happens to me all the time, you can go ahead and do this. So what we're going to use is automations because we're not going to be doing Wix code. I'm not showing you that right now. We're just going to go ahead and do that. So open up the automations tab. Alternatively, if you're looking in the dashboard, it's located under the Ascend Business Tools section as of the making of this video, Customer Management, and it's all the way down on the bottom underneath of Manage Automations. So that's where it's at right now. Okay. So now, as you can see, this is a brand new site that we're working on, kind of a little fun demo. So what you can choose to do is set up a new automation. Now, obviously, if I think as of right now, depending on what the Wix Ascend platform is, there's a certain number of automations that you can get included for free with your Wix plan, your basic plan, right? But in order to access more automations and like more fields and more options, you do have to have an added on Ascend, okay? Because Ascend is like, think of Wix like if you go to order a car, right? Like there's the base model, but then you can get some of these like added features on there. Ascend, if you want all of the bells and whistles that come with Ascend, you have to have a Ascend plan added on. And I think the cheapest one is like $10. It's super inexpensive. And again, you can find all of my recommendations for how to pick your Ascend plan and all of that located inside of the Style It Yourself course. So anyways, we're going to title this automation, and we're going to be very specific when we're titling it so we don't get confused later on and be like, what was that one for? Like, you don't just want to name it automation 1. You want to say what it does. So new client email form, whatever, new client email after intake form. Okay. Again, you're like, wow, that's like really, because there are multiple automations you could do for like the same thing. So you don't just want to call it new client. It's like, well, what am I doing with this new client? Am I going to add them to the workflow? Am I going to, do a chat message? Am I going to send them an email? So that's why I'm being really, really specific. So the second part here is choosing a trigger for the automation. So you can notice that I'm going to go ahead and click on the Wix form, and I want to trigger this whenever a visitor submits a form. And not just any form, but I want to go to the drop-down menu and click on that specific form. And that's where you are going to want to select whatever the name of that form that you just added in there. Okay, so then make sure that this saved. And then when you're in the dashboard looking around, you should be able to find that sample form or whatever you just named that form. Okay, so select that form. All right, now this is where you're going to choose the follow-up action. Now, this is where you can decide what exactly you want to do. So you could connect this. The most basic things are to send an email to your visitor, to that person that just signed up for the form. And the second most common automation, so as you can see, you're probably going to be using a lot of automations because you can trigger multiple automations for the same action. So for example, you may want to get notified via email if someone is submitting a form and it's like a lead form, right? So that's something you could do. You could also create a task like, okay, this client just submitted this. Now, we've got to make sure that we get them scheduling their appointment or whatever it is. That's more if you have like a client and a workflow and a process and you're trying to keep everything on track, especially if you are going to be working with a team or an assistant. This is where you can also create a task, okay? Another thing that you can do is you can also connect this specific action to Zapier. Now, if you have seen any of the tutorials located in What the Tech or Style It Yourself, this is an alternative thing that you could do. But if you want to gosh, there's so much that you can do with Zapier. So this is an option. If you know what Zapier is, how to use it, and you're looking for more specific things to do with your form, this might be an option, and just get back with me and let me know. Now, if you want to send an email to visitors, you can choose the contents of the email. Okay, so you're going to want to add in all of this details, and then you're going to edit the email that you're going to send out. And then you can choose when you want to trigger this email. So for example, a lot of the times people will schedule one to go automatically, and it will send them immediately after someone signs up for this form. Okay. The next thing that you could do is you could decide to send an email again after someone submitted a form. You could just choose to send it 1 day after, 2 days after, 3 days after. You can see how really then when someone is submitting that form on your site, you're able to send these emails out like, hey, by the way, did you know about this? Or you could send out a series of follow-up emails right here through Wix automations without ever having to import them to your email list or, create a follow-up sequence on a different platform or anything like that. So that's a pretty cool feature that Wix offers. So there you have it. you now know how to trigger and use an automated email directly through Wix, the entire Wix platform, without having to have a third-party email server, and doing it all right through Wix forms and automations on either your editor. So again, I'm just going to recap that. You guys know how I teach. I kind of like teach you everything, and at the end, we go over it one last time super fast. So again, you can open up your site editor, go to the page with the form, okay, and you're going to click on Form Settings. And in there, you can access the Automations tab. So you could choose to set up email notifications, or you can send a thank you email. You can do that right here through the Wix form setting. Make sure that you've named your form. You can also access the Automations tab located in your dashboard. So in order to get to the dashboard, you could go to Settings, My Dashboard, and then that's going to open this up, and then you can either search for automations at the top, or if you go to Customer Management underneath of the menu, it will bring you up to the Automations menu. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I can't wait to hear how your automations go. And if you have any questions, be sure to post them inside of the What the Tech community. And if you just can't get it figured out, go ahead and submit a ticket by Tuesday, and that way we can make sure that we go over those on a Wednesday live call. So thanks so much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.